agent and broker. Yeah, so your email's there top
No,
right.
you've got my email up under your section.
Right,
That-
okay.
So that is wrong. My
Okay.
email needs to be
Got
down,
it.
and my name is not in there, so you need to add my name, and you need to add my email down here.
Got it.
In the broker section. Okay. All these little manini details, right? And then we go to documents. And so you have folders here. Okay. I'm not sure what these folders are.
Oh, I tried to put it, because I didn't send 3 emails, I wanted to put them all in a folder and send you the folder as a packet.
Okay, so I'm not sure that e-signature works quite that way. This is for your own organizational purposes. So here is the contract back, right? Because you sent the contract, and what you're saying is you didn't get the other documents signed, is that correct?
I got them signed, but I wasn't able to send them. I got a message that said I was missing. I can read it to you.
Okay, all right.
It said,
So the reality is, Zip e-sign is its own place,
oh, okay.
right? And makes its own envelope. So if you want to make a new envelope here, you can just start a new one, and it'll say, what would you like to have signed? And you choose the documents in here, not.
I did. I chose a packet like that. And then I chose all 3 documents to sign, and then I put your signature on all 3 of them.
All right,
We'll try it
so
again.
that would be, this one here is completed. That was just the contract. This one here has cooperating broker, and it's pending reviewing broker. So I have not received this. I have received no email from you asking for additional signatures.
Right.
So what you can do here is you can go and edit, and we can review your Marion Haller pending. No, I don't want to do that. This is interesting. Add a document. No, I don't want to do that. I would like to, can I do this? Create role, reviewing broker Marion Haller, principal broker Marion Haller. So you've sent it to me twice for different purposes. And what I am trying to do is to send it again, and it won't let me do that.
That's what she kept.
I can delete.
But then eventually I ended up finding the right path on the loop to select them. It said email. I went to the email part, and it would only send the purchase contract. I kept finding this dead end over and over, but finally I figured out how to get around it.
Yeah.
I don't really remember how right now, because I went
Right,
down so many
so-
rabbit holes.
All right, so now I am back in zip forms, right? You can see here, I'm in zip forms in Betty Buyer. I open it up. I go to documents. There's these envelopes, and it's this envelope that you want to have signed. So if you go to e-signature from here, open it up, and go from here
Yes.
to e-signature, make a new envelope, and it says, which one do you want to send? And I want to send this one, right? And it asks you to check the 3 contracts. See what I just did? It offers you, what do you want to send?
Yeah, I was there
Okay,
many times.
I close that. I don't want it. This, by the way, is how you do an external document.
Yeah, I did that too.
Right.
I added the Harpta one from there.
Cool. All right, so here they are, and now it says next, and you go, who's next? And you go, well, who's signing? And you wanted Marion to sign. So we go Marion. Is that all? Was there somebody else that needed to sign?
No.
Okay, we go close, and we go next. And we send Marion. So there are the signatures, and what we're not seeing is Marion's name does not automatically get a signature, so we have to drag it there. And what other document does Marion have here? The cooperating brokers agreement. So you want to look at the bottom of that. Her signature does appear there. And then the last one is the as-is condition. I don't believe Marion's signature is required on that. And that could be your problem. You have a document in here that doesn't require Marion's signature. And when that happens, it doesn't know what to do. It's not going to work.
And at the top, it doesn't require anything?
The as-is addendum, no. The as-is addendum does not require a
Okay.
broker's signature. So that could be the issue. If I now wanted to send this, right, the e-signature packet cannot be started due to the following. As-is condition addendum needs to have at least one task in order to proceed. So in order to make it work, I'm gonna put an initial here, or not a signature, I don't want a signature, just an initial. So we can put an initial there. And now you can make me sign, right? You've just forced me to sign. Either that or you have to go back and delete the document.
Yeah, I put signatures on both of those documents, then went to next, and it still kept getting that very same message, but for both the documents. But it also might be because of that card, by broker, buyer.
Or you didn't have her name in the right place.
Right, so maybe that was part of the problem. But I did put some type of signature on all three documents.
Well, I just pulled my name from the same card,
Yeah,
so I don't
and
think,
try to push it through, see if you get.
let's see. Well, I've now added the signature, so I'm gonna be able to get it through. Do you see? Because I added this
Okay.
little initial thing here, so it should.
Let's see.
Signature packet 4, let's send it. And did you notice, by the way, it says this is Marion Haller? Because even though I'm in your thing, it still knows it's me, right? So now I'm gonna have to, in a moment, I will check into my email and we'll see if I got it.
Well, it looks like it went through, and you didn't get that
Yep.
yellow thing. So,
Yep, it says right here,
the
it
fact,
went.
the fact that I changed that card now and put it correctly, will that save for future transactions? The card of the,
You'll have a little drop down, so you can always put, it'll put you in, but it won't put me in automatically, because you can change brokers, you know, that's.
okay, so I just always have to do that stage, then it's not set
Yes,
up
you
as a
do.
default at this point?
Yes, you do, and I would always double check it anyway, because zip forms keeps changing,
Okay,
and
that's.
oh my God, how annoying is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, what else? And there's one more, which is practice sending it to each other, like make you the client and you make her the client, right? So now you've got a sample, like today's homework, you could do that with today's homework. So that there's a couple of advantages. Number one, you get to see what it's like to receive one, and the value of that is so that you can answer questions to your clients by having had the experience of receiving one and having to sign it. And so that's really helpful, and you'll see how that stage works when you've got multiple people on the thing, right? You're now gonna have to decide who goes first. You should always make the broker sign first, so that the client sees that the broker approved this document, and then that's for a purchase contract, not necessarily for a listing agreement. On a listing agreement, you do not need to have your broker sign first, because sometimes it gives you a little wiggle room, right, to not have it signed for a day or two if you want. So you have your broker look at it if you want, but other than that, you know, the listing agreement is simple, right? Once you get into your role of how you do it, it'll be okay. You won't need to have it reviewed. You can just go and have it done and then bring it to the broker.
You wouldn't want to miss that moment anyway of getting the signature from the seller.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. And your comments make sense. I see that I didn't uncheck, or where it said NA, I left the 3 and 5 days. And I should have cleared those fields.
Yeah, so you gotta think about how this is received. This is received by somebody as this is the document for the sale of my house, right? Or I am going to buy this. Why is there stuff filled in that it doesn't pertain to?
Yeah,
So it looks unprofessional, it looks like this is just a form you pulled, like you didn't give any thought to it. So when you realize who is reading this and who it's for, you want to take the time to really fill it out with that person in mind.
and then Q1 isn't necessary, or you could add it to other in H2.
Right, so if you wanted to qualify the fact that her deposit was dependent on, it was invested,
Mhm.
right? And you wanted to qualify and say, this is an IRA and she becomes eligible on November 28th. You could have just done that in H2.
Okay, I assumed other meant literally something other than those three options. Not
It
that
does.
other would refer to one of the chosen three options.
It does, but what if it did?
Okay, so that's
Right.
why I just
You
decided,
just use the,
Okay.
yeah, don't be too literal. Use
Okay.
the space you've got, right? Sometimes you
Okay.
go, oh, I could type something in right there and everybody will understand.
that it
makes
pertains
sense.
to the
Yes,
box check.
exactly.
Okay.
It's in that paragraph,
okay.
right?
And
makes
I
sense.
thought my way through that, and I'm like, no, other is something else.
There you go. You thought you were right out of that.
I overthought it. Okay.
Very cool. I'm seeing a lot of people get N1 and N2 off, so people are not checking either.
Yeah,
And-
and we,
and-
it's not a rental property, so we just went past it. Not a good idea.
And yet the first item, N1, I'm kind of surprised you went there, right? Is like, does the buyer take possession? And the instructions, like when in doubt, notice there are instructions there that say,
Choose paragraph N1 or paragraph.
or paragraph N2. And the same is true with H1 or H2.
So I was supposed to choose N1 or N2?
Yeah.
Yeah, N1 is the possession,
Yeah, because I didn't choose any.
and you can't do that. The instructions say you must choose one or the other.
I thought because it pertained to it being a rental property, and it's not a rental property, it's gonna be owner occupied.
Yeah, but it
Where
doesn't.
does it say that?
It says here, choose paragraph N1 or paragraph N2. And N1 is the delivery of possession of the property free of tenants.
Oh, so it's still going to, if it had a tenant, it's giving.
No, it's saying it doesn't have a tenant, so you have to choose N1. You can't NA it, you have to choose it.
I guess because section N says rental property matters, I'm assuming it's not a rental property, so I NA through the whole.
Yeah, so you can't do that next time.
So there's always going to be a rental matter, whether there is one or not. You choose one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
I
says
agree with you.
free.
It's a poorly labeled
Yeah.
paragraph. It didn't, I wonder if it used to always be called that way, because we didn't used to have this issue. The issue we had was the rental matter was listed first, and then second was
Yeah.
vacant or buyer to take possession, and so no tenants. And now they've reversed it, and they've made the description very rentally based. I agree with you, but if you read N1, it clearly says, shall be delivered free and clear of any tenants, right? There's no tenants, so it's a way to say, you are delivering me an empty house, a vacant
So
property.
you address tenants, whether or not tenants are an issue
Yes.
or not, or ever
Yes.
have been.
Yes, yeah,
Okay?
You just put an X there and then.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, one of the two has to be chosen. And then H1 and H2 has the same thing. You must choose one or the other. And one says there's no contingency on cash funds, and the other one says there is a contingency on cash funds, right?
Yes.
And again, if you do say, yes, there is a contingency on cash funds, like Betty had a little contingency, then you have to go into H1 and take out the days, because it just looks really weird. It's very disconcerting to people.
That there's deadlines to something that doesn't.
Yeah, that doesn't apply. Why are there deadlines in there?
Should you leave it blank or put an A?
Put
So the
NA.
margin must always be filled in.
Okay.
The item in the margin, if it is not filled in, makes the contract unenforceable because it's not clear.
Okay, and that's the same with the staking. You don't have to stake
Everything.
this condo, but I left them blank, so I should put NAs and all.
Absolutely, that would totally be a correction.
Okay.
You can have no blanks in the margin. Any other questions?
But, like for my dual agencies, I left those blank, those should also get NAs.
No, on agency, we check only those other people. Some people do NAs, some people don't, and if you wanna just get in the habit of doing all NAs, do it.
Okay.
Say NA on agency. Yeah, totally, yeah. We've all slowly but surely been forced into putting NAs into all the little pukas. We used to not, right? And over time, the Department of Consumer Affairs has insisted that the NA be included, and they keep making the point, so we're like, okay, I'll put NAs.
And what about when there's two listing agents? Where do you put the second one?
In a, well, there's always one listing agent and a co-listing agent.
Where do you put the code?
I don't need to.
Go.
Okay.
It refers to a list, that's between them, it's not.
No, about on our side. It says name of buyer's agent, Terry Palmer,
Same way you would do it in a listing agreement, right? You do it,
comma.
put a comma and put your name as well.
Comma?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, it'll be interesting. You will see there's challenges in working with a buyer together,
Yeah.
much more so than working with a seller together. So, you'll see how it works for you. You might end up that the people you know you're gonna work with and the people you know you're gonna work with, and you work together as much as you can. But, right, it's when you know both of them equally that it'll work out okay, but oftentimes that's not the
Sure,
case,
they're
so.
gonna feel an affinity for one or the other.
For one of the other, and so you'll end up being a contact, so then you might as well just, right? The fact that you work as a team is gonna be established here and is between the two of you, and you can certainly tell your buyer about that, and they're great, like, so I literally brought an agent in the other day to a deal, because a buyer just surfaced, and, I brought her to the showing, and the buyer, it was just amazing, he says, look, he says, I really appreciate that you're here, and I'm sure you're a wonderful agent, but I called Marion because I want to work with Marion. I mean, he just out and out said it, right? Made it really clear to both of us who was going to be the client contact person. Now, I told him that Angie's going to help me, and that, you know, she will be in touch with him to follow up on certain things, and he said, okay, fine. And after a while, he really got to trust her and to see that she was efficient and working. It was great, but initially, it was like, no, I want, so, just,
Sounds good.
yeah. So these things happen. Okay, so, that takes us to, how much did you buy? How much is she spending?
She's spending $21,500 for rent. 60,300 to close. $50 down. And the reason that she got under budget is because there just wasn't anything available up to like 480 that day that we did research. There was nothing available between 365 and 450 or something. And we couldn't go to 450 because we needed to keep it in the lower floors. Now there is, there's something for 310 that comes out at 2509 a month.
410?
410.
410.
410.
What did I say? Sorry.
310,
I'm
yeah, it's
sorry.
okay, no,
Yeah,
it's okay.
410.
Yeah, there you go. It's, and that unit is minuscule, I can't believe.
The 600 square feet.
The 410.
For what
Oh,
we
it
know,
is?
410 is smaller than this other one?
Well,
That was-
take a look.
Well, that was an interesting setup.
I just-
Is it a complex?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't show it from the aerial. It shows like, I was confused about that complex.
Oh, yeah, no, but the nice thing about that complex is it has a pool and a gym room.
Yeah.
So people really like that because it's more resort-like, right? It's one of the downsides, some of the downsides of these other things is like,
Yeah, we found it.
yeah, none of the,
And that one's
Almost
really
none of them.
small, 600.
so it's a small unit, but people like the that aspect of it, so yeah. All right, so here's another one. We're gonna do another purchase contract.
Oh, boy.
So we don't have another class to go over this, right? This is our last class today. And so you're just gonna send it to me and I'll give you your comments just like we have been doing. All right, so this is Sam Sneed and he's looking for a home for his family. They're just moving to Maui and don't know the area well. He'll be working at the Westin Ka'anapali and his wife is a teacher. She doesn't have a job yet. The kids are a boy 7 and a girl 12. They don't have a lot of down payment, but they have $50,000. They could qualify for a $450,000 mortgage. Same exercise, right? How much does that mortgage, now we're not given a budget, so we assume that he can do, that he can afford the entire mortgage. That's what we have to assume here. But the same thing with what can you buy him? What are the additional monthly expenses? You know, figure that out. And then what can $50,000 do for him, right? And how to spend that money. So finding them a place to live. The good thing is that you're all women and you get it, why it specifies that there's a 7-year-old boy and a 12-year-old girl. Do not be selling me
A two-bedroom.
a 2-bedroom thing. You would be surprised how many people try to do that. Right? So it's like, well, mostly guys. It's the guys who don't. They don't think that through. I don't know what that is. So I can say that we don't have any guys that are. Pardon me?
He's gonna be working in Kaanapali.
Yeah. A lot of people do. A lot of people do. All right. So let me just ask you, here's our last time together and wow. You're left to your devices, but hopefully you're seeing your coach and meeting with your coach so that your coach gets you on your routine and helps you with that. But is there anything of all that you've taken in, all that you've learned that you are not clear about and you want more information about?
Well, can you talk about the as-is addendum?
Sure.
Do you always have to attach one?
No, and as is addendum, this is a good question, there is something you need to go over. I don't want to remind myself to do it. The as-is addendum, let me start this way. Our contract is an as-is contract. There is nothing in our contract that says the buyer has a right to request repairs during their J1 inspection. Nothing says the seller is obligated, nothing. It is an as-is contract. The only thing it acknowledges is if there is some repairs, and they don't get done in time, you get to leave some money in escrow to get them done in time. That's the only reference it makes.
So is that called buyer beware? Oh, in Virginia, we always said buyer beware. It's like, that's a buyer beware state. Like you get what you get. You have to do your own due diligence.
We are the same here.
Okay.
You have to do your own due diligence. Does Virginia have a seller's disclosure?
Yeah.
Okay, so same difference. We don't use that phrase.
Okay.
We use buyer to do their own due diligence, right? We use that phrase a lot.
Yeah.
So an as-is addendum is merely a way of communicating that, look, I'm not going to nickel and dime you for a bunch of repairs. And it emphasizes that I will buy this in as-is condition. The problem is people don't honor it. People get the inspection report, and the inspection report has 27 items on it that need to be repaired, and they ask for 10 repairs, even though they signed an as-is addendum. So to me, that this kind of phenomenon that's going on detracts from the power of an as-is addendum. And number two, you have the potential of really pissing the seller off. Because the seller goes like, what is it about an as-is addendum and your signature on it that you don't understand, right? So one of the ways around that is to modify your as-is addendum and to say, buyer shall pay for any repairs under $2,000. And that puts the seller on notice that, okay, if there's a bigger item, they might come back to me with that. And that's fine, I'll look at big items. I just don't want to look at the tear in the screen and the squeaky door and the, you know, the Manini stuff. I don't want to deal with that. So an as-is addendum, if you want to give it weight, qualify it that way, and that allows your buyer to come back and say, the septic pool is, you know, full to the top and needs pumping and isn't working. I want a new septic system. Or the roof leaked. You didn't tell me that the roof leaked and there's damage in the walls and we need to have all of that repaired. I'm gonna bring somebody in and figure that out. Those are big items, right? So now your buyer's not tied into that. Doesn't mean the seller is obligated to give you money back, but at least you've made it clear that you have the right to come back for those things. Even if there's an as-is addendum and no qualification, if a big item were to come up, you definitely have the right to go back and say, you didn't tell me that the roof leaked. You didn't tell me that the cesspool wasn't working. You didn't tell me that the entire underskirting of the deck was rotted. And this is a $12,000 repair or $15,000, this is material. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Okay, so now, anything else come up for you guys?
I've got 0 coming up.
Show your criteria. Yeah. I did the one in bedrooms and bathrooms.
So you guys want to focus here for a moment?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, are we being filmed?
No, because it doesn't make any sense
Okay,
to film
good.
over homework.
Okay, good. So, okay, here we go. I didn't understand why we would take, the 500 per 100,000 for mortgage and reduce it by, a tenth, or, you know, put it into $50 per $10,000. When $500 and $100,000 are more relative to our market reality. What was the point of that exercise?
The point of that exercise was, what if the seller came back and asked for a higher price back? So let's take the $410,000 condo that's available. Let's say you make an offer at $400,000 and you haven't figured out exactly what the, you know, or estimated what her monthly payment would be. And the seller comes back and says, no, $410,000. She goes, oh, I don't think I can afford that. And now it helps for you to know that $10,000 costs $50 a month.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now all of a
it's once
sudden,
you're already in, it's not for the initial
Yeah.
calculation, it's so that in the
It's-
moment you can go.
in the
Yeah,
moment,
it's
you
$50.
can go, listen, we calculate, what did I calculate it at?
Yeah.
And when the interest rate goes up, when it's 6%, this is handy, at 6% it costs $600. So it's, you know,
Yeah.
you get to know these numbers and it's just really helpful. And then you can say to your client, you know, we're talking $50 a month. How's that feel?
Got it. And then that reminds me of the next thing. I don't remember you ever actually pointing out, I just made the assumption that if it's at 3.75, it's $450 per 100,000, basically, not $375. And that takes into consideration tax and insurance? Is that why?
I'm sorry, say that again?
If the interest rate is 3.75, and yet the estimation calculator that we talked about was $450 per 100,000 at 3.75.
Right.
So why is it $450 and not $375?
Because there's 12 months in the year, and
Okay,
interest
got it.
doesn't
Thank you.
calculate
Okay.
over 10 months.
Okay.
So
Right.
the actual payment is different than the interest rate.
Yes, got it, okay.
So if
Seems
that's.
so obvious, but I missed that one. I'm like, okay, I just need to be clear on this.
Well, I never even ask it. To me, it's like, I can't calculate that. That's not my business. Here's the other reason.
Mhm.
Mortgages are amortized. You pay far more
Right.
interest up front than you do at the end, right? So
Right.
the calculation of your monthly payment isn't a direct correlation to the payment, because there's principal built in, and the interest is front-loaded,
Okay.
which is why refinancing is such a bugaboo. It sounds so appealing, but if they've already paid 8 years of interest, they have just paid predominantly interest and have a big chunk of principal to carry forward into a new loan, and they're gonna start all over again paying all that front-loaded interest. So I just made that mistake, and I was like, oh my God, look what I just did.
Wow.
I just traded a lower payment for having to pay all this interest again. And I realized I could have just increased my payments on the loan that I had and gotten rid of my loan.
Wow, yeah, I refied 3 times, and I'm just realizing that right now.
Depends how long you held the loan
Uh-huh.
before refinancing, right? If it was a few years, 3, 4 years, not so bad.
Okay.
But if you did 10 years and then refinanced, ouch.
Okay.
Well, on the amortization thing, the one that said PITI to TI, and it showed the two, like the interest and the principal, and then if you do 15 years, the principal was so much healthier. So,
The 15-year versus
Yeah.
30-year model. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really cool.
because I'm visual too, and I was like, oh man, that's such a chunk less.
So you guys are on to something else here.
Sorry.
Yeah, so what do you want to?
Oh, we were just getting ready to do it.
So you were what?
Doing our homework.
Stop that, turn it over,
Okay,
and put it
fine.
away.
We're fine.
Okay. Okay. So I want to point out that your 15-year versus 30-year amortization schedule's up here, so you could put in, she wants to borrow $250,000, and what would it cost to pay it off in 15 years, and what would it cost to pay it off in 30 years? It's a really cool little tool, right? And where we went was here, I'm in Paragon, right, in the financial thing. We went there just to find out what's it cost to borrow $100,000 at the current rate. Keep in mind that when you see the published rate, now I noticed the rate went right. Did you see I sent you an email of Mr. Bardenhagen's? Get on that list. I swear to God, he sends it out every week, and it's wonderful to know. It went right back up to 4%, the 30-year fixed. I was like, whoa, it was down to 3.2 just 2 weeks ago, went right back up to 4%. So, don't know exactly what that was about, but it's just good to know it's volatile, right? So it's always, and keep in mind that 4% is you have to have a par interest rate, credit score. Par credit